Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Good afternoon and welcome to Love and Relationship. This is an exciting show that talks about matters of the heart. We discuss practical ways of finding love, of enjoying love, of showing love to one another in relationship. Today is another exciting day and we have an exciting topic to discuss today. Today we're going to be talking about how to show love to one another at all times, how to show love in marriage. We had started discussing this topic about 2 Mondays ago, and we just want to continue. And then we still have a lot to share, within the time period we have to discuss this topic. Today, I have great friends with me in the studio, and I'll introduce them, and they will tell us briefly what they do and who they are. And I believe that, they are here to contribute great wisdom to what we have to share today. I have with me today Nadia Pretorius. Nadia, you're welcome. And Nadia has been here with us before. I think she can also tell us again what she does, who she is, and then we will carry on.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Nadia Pretorius. I'm a pastor. I also teach parenting classes, and I own a nursery school in the West Rand. I'm also the founder of a foundation called the BI Foundation.
Wow, that's great. So we have a wealth of wisdom here today in the studio. And we also have here in the studio a great man of God, Pastor Stephen Lopepe. Please, Pastor, you're welcome. You can tell us a bit about yourself, a little bit, what you do, and how the listeners can connect with you.
Thank you, Pastor Ndo, for this privilege. I'm Stephen Lopepe, father of 5.
Okay.
I'm married to one woman.
Okay.
And by God's grace, we are leading a foundation, which inside we have a school for businessmen, for underprivileged people who like to do business. Okay. It's a free school. Inside we have also the branch of churches, the branch of youth and women. Okay. So it's just a little bit what we are doing. We have a branch in South Africa, in Congo, and we are opening a new one in Zimbabwe.
Wow, interesting. We really appreciate your being here in the studio today.
Thank you.
And they also call him Papa Stephen. I think something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And today we have people who I believe have been married for years. And then we are here to contribute practical ways to show love in marriage. Because it looks like somehow when people are married, it's like they run out of ideas of what to do. It's like they forget, how to show love to one another. So, we really have to make it very practical. And then there was a Bible passage we used just because it had a lot of instructions there in 1 Peter 3:8-9. I will just like to read it again. It says, "So all of you should live together in peace. Try to understand each other. Love each other like brothers and sisters. Be kind and humble. Don't do wrong to anyone to pay them back for doing wrong to you. Or don't insult anyone to pay them back for insulting you, but ask God to bless them. Do this because you yourself were chosen to receive a blessing." So, I like that passage of the Bible because it speaks about how people can practically show love. The other time we discussed with Nadia Pretorius about showing kindness, and then, she contributed a lot to how we can show kindness to one another. So now I have Pastor Stephen representing the men who are married, and I have also Pastor Nadia representing the women who are married. Now, I want to have a practical way which the women expect the men to show love and the men expect the women to show love. So when we come to kindness, for an example, I would like to ask you, Nadia, as a woman, how will you expect a man to show you kindness? How will you expect, your husband to show you kindness? You remember you speaking on behalf of the women. And
Yes.
then, how a woman feels, this is how a woman wants it. Because we try to understand that a woman feels things, a man reasons, and, we are both a bit different. But, God made us so for a good purpose. So tell me, how can a man show kindness to his wife every day? make the woman feel loved? Are there practical things you have in mind?
Out of my own practical experience, I realized that when I expect my husband to be kind towards me, that he will disappoint me.
Okay.
Because I expect him. We have many expectations. We as women have many expectations, and the media and the television helps us along with those expectations. And I think that they are far-fetched and very dangerous expectations. So I think it's very important that we as women understand that we can't really expect kindness from our husbands.
Okay.
It is a privilege to receive kindness from your
Okay.
husband.
Okay.
He doesn't owe you anything because he's your husband.
Okay.
Okay. So I feel that there's so many books that you can read on love languages and everything, but everybody experiences love in a different way. There's so many things that women and men can do. There's books, self-help books that they can read on love languages to understand that everybody doesn't experience love in the same way. So some people like to receive gifts, and other people like to have words of affirmation, and other people like to have quality time with their spouse. So it's important to discover in what way your spouse experiences love.
Okay. So, another thing I wanted to, another perspective I wanted to put through is, kindness somehow reflects something like compassion, having mercy, showing understanding.
Yes.
You see, a lot of times, the men, we reason things a lot. So if we don't understand why you are feeling that way, we don't want to be part of it. I mean, we want you to get your acts right and do what is right. But a woman has a way she feels, and she expects the man to understand with her, and feel, something, the way she feels, so they can work together. So, another thing I want to ask you before I go to Pastor Stephen is, in regards to showing mercy, having understanding, what will you say to the men? I mean, are you trying to give an advice to the men here? How should the men show understanding, show compassion to their wives? If there is any practical way you can,
Yes. Yeah, so men tend to think about one thing at a time. And
Okay.
women have all these emotions, and everything is connected to one another. And women don't tend to understand that their men don't necessarily understand how they were put together. And
Okay.
few people do research on relationships and how they can better themselves or their relationship. They just sort of think it has to happen, but it is actually, love is a very complicated thing. It is very complicated,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of feelings and stuff involved.
Yeah.
So women are put together where everything is connected to each other. The husband's connected to the children's connected to the school's connected to the bank account's connected to, so everything is connected to each other. So it's like a lot of wires inside of us. So men, if I can give them some advice, is to understand that women want to know what you're feeling, and they want to know what you're thinking, because men often don't speak about their feelings. Men are very task orientated. They just want to get the job done. And they just want everybody to be peaceful and not whine, right? So women want men to speak about their feelings and what they're experiencing, and it is very difficult for men to do that.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I think we will go on a quick break, and then when we return, I will put through some questions to Pastor Stephen. Thank you. What's happening?
The station with the best music. Best music.
I love the music.
Best music.
brandlife.co.za. brandlive.co.za.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Brand Live.
No doubt.
You can open.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.
Let me know.
Guess who got brands talking? brandlive.co.za.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Love and Relationship. I'm still here in the studio with great friends, with Nadia Pretorius and with Pastor Stephen Lupepe. Today we're talking about how to show love practically to one another in marriage. And the second question I wanted to put through to Pastor Stephen is still part of the one of the instructions we got from that Bible passage, which says that one speaks about humility. So I found out that another way of showing love is in being humble. Because for me, I have come to discover that humility is the perfume that enhances love. Without humility, love cannot prosper. And that is why where there is pride, there is strife. And people are going to compete with each other instead of, working with each other to grow. So, and then somebody defined men as being humble or something. So what the question I want to ask you is this, what are the things that could make, a person to feel proud? What could make a partner feel proud, not admitting his or her mistakes, to settle out issues? Because, you see, we are not living in a relationship where we don't expect misunderstandings. But the thing is how to sort out that misunderstanding. Humility is one of the greatest requirements. But you see, some partners, feel so proud, or I don't know what happens, they don't want to humble themselves to share. Some partners cannot even say, I'm sorry. Some people, little things like I'm sorry breaks up a relationship. So, I mean, how can a partner show love by being humble to, his or her partner? I mean, you understand the question I'm trying to put across. What could prevent one from being humble?
You see, Pasando, I think one of the things is before you show that humility, you must have love.
Yes.
It's not easy. People pretend to love each other, but they are not carrying love. They are carrying emotions.
Yeah, that's true.
Related to eros, erotic emotions. And they confuse themselves with love. Love, you have a part which called agape, where is a part of sacrifice. God so agape the world, he gave Jesus to us. Then you have a part which is eros and filio, the relationship between parent and kids. Now you see, filio and eros will never be stronger until they are having roots on agape.
Agape, yes.
Now, you'll see that in agape is where you find humility. So if somebody stands only with eros, it's difficult to ask him to be humble because he's willing to satisfy his erotic need. Doesn't need to be humble. He can pay money for that. You see, people can bring violence for that. They don't have agape. So I think part of your big responsibility through this radio is to show people that we must first carry agape before to pretend that we love somebody. And you see the Bible say on the last days, the love of many will go cold or will grow cold. So we are in those last days where people are cold. It's the reason, as our sisters say, men can't show easily their feelings. People are cold. Now, I think the show like this one is bringing more fire, but it must be put first in agape. Because when agape is boiling, then easily it can produce eros, filio, and all of that. So the first point is there. Now, the agape in our life is few. It's very few. People are sell ego, sell inner, sell fish, all the sell self. You see.
Yeah.
Now, it's difficult to ask somebody who is a sell to show you humility because he's thinking about himself, he's planning about himself. It's like all the world exists for himself. His salary is for himself, and when he catch opportunity to get something, it's for himself. So that the crisis there start by the fact that we don't have a sacrificial part of love.
Okay. And you agree with me that humility is very important in having a successful relationship. Because without humility, we cannot work out our differences.
Exactly.
We cannot communicate properly.
Exactly.
We cannot respect each other.
Exactly.
The other one might think I'm the big one here, especially if you're earning the biggest money. You think the other partner should, bow down to you and then or something. So what we're saying, listeners, is that humility is really a very important factor in having an enjoyable relationship. And then without wasting time, because I want to go through some of those topics properly, I would like to also go to Nadia. I want to ask you about repaying wrongdoings, because that particular wisdom nugget we read from the Bible talks about do not repay wrongdoings to your partner, because these are ways of practically showing love. Forgiveness, don't say he did it to me, I'm gonna do it to him. So my question is, how can couples avoid repaying wrongdoings of their partners? We've spoken about kindness, we've spoken about which kindness also has to do with compassion, mercy. We've spoken about humility. Are there other things you think that people can have in them that can help them not to repair wrongdoings? How that works.
Yes, I
An
do.
eye for an eye is not good for a relationship.
It's not. It's definitely not. So in my personal opinion, it's very difficult when your partner does something wrong.
You feel hurt
You
at that
feel
time,
hurt
angry.
and angry, and that's why people say they didn't think about divorce often, but murder a lot. Right? So I think it's very important that we understand that God has mercy and grace for us, and every day His grace is fresh and new. And if you think about yourself and all the things that you've done wrong, and how much God has forgiven you, and how many chances God has given you, and you apply that same grace in your marriage or in your relationship, I think that it's important to have grace, because everybody's on a journey, right? And let's say everybody's on a journey with God, and God is busy with everybody. Even if you're not saved, I'm sure God is trying to reach you and get you saved. So God is on a journey with everybody, and if you're a Christian household, and God is part of your household, then I think to have grace with your partner is very, very important, and to understand that he's also on a journey, and that he's going to stuff up sometimes, and he's going to make many mistakes, and he's going to do lots of things wrongs. Try to have grace and to
understand.
easily forgive. And I always say, never go to bed angry.
That's true.
If you can just sort out, even if you have to discuss what happened or whatever, never go to bed angry. Rather try and solve it before you go to bed at night. Because if you give bitterness one chance to get into your heart, it will fester there.
That's true. So let's hold it there. We will take a short break, and then we will be back, and then we will continue with the rest of the questions. Listeners, please stay right where you are. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
The witty Tatterbots. Join myself, Carmen Murray, and my double trouble, Jessica McIndoe, with our big personalities, and we will present you with an insightful yet fun show.
We will feature interviews with industry heavyweights and unpack everything from new technologies, marketing trends, and case studies to empower you to be ahead of the curve.
Brand Live.
Join us on this exciting journey every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock and start a conversation on hashtag Witty Show.
#WITEE show.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Love and Relationship. We're still here in the studio discussing matters of the heart, practical ways of showing love to one another. I mean, sometimes it's difficult, but you have to understand that this is somebody that means so much to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn to do some things that you did not expect to do. I find out that one of the challenges of couples is that they meet so many things they did not expect. They thought they were marrying maybe a perfect person or someone who is this and that. But, when they come into it, the practicality shocks them. And some people are like thrown away. I mean, but we're saying to people that there is nothing new. Whatever you're experiencing, other people have experienced it and have grown above it. So what we're saying is that we have some few points here we're highlighting to you that you need to be kind to one another. In your words, in your actions, in what you do, try and show kindness. And we've also said to people, please try and be humble. Humility will help you know the right thing to do at the right time. And what we were discussing before we went on break was that try and show love to one another by not repaying the wrongdoings of your partner. And there are still like two more things we wanted to discuss. We just see if we can catch up through before our time is up. Another thing that I picked up was that another way of showing love is not insulting your spouse. A lot of times I've seen relationships that have gone sour because something happened once, years ago, and then the impact is still living strong in the other person's life. Maybe some words that were spoken, some, actions that were done, So we really want to find out in just some few minutes, Pastor Stephen, can you help us to understand, how not to insult one another? Or what could make, couples insult each other when they get angry? The Bible says be angry, but sin not. So when you are angry, you need to be able to control yourself. Self-control is one of the fruits, we should have. So, how can couples avoid insulting one another? Is it that when you are angry, you should go calm down somewhere or something? I don't know. Some people go out for for fresh air. I don't know. Do you have any?
I think, in my humble view, one of the things which make people going up to that point, which is not good, is the pressure of life. This generation are under too much pressure. Why? Because they drop out the biblical standard of marriage. So they took the world standard, Hollywood standard, Nollywood standard. So everything must be perfect every second. It never happened. Only perfection is only God. We make mistake, all of us. Now, when you take the standard from Hollywood for Nollywood and you put it as your value, then you are under pressure. A woman can't say this. A woman can't do this. So you have all those laws. You reject forgiveness laws. Then easily you insult because it's a pressure. You insult, I married such this. I heard somebody saying I married a demon. But how you have a demon with kids? Demon doesn't have a body. You see, it's pressure. If people can throw away the pressure
of life,
and take the soft yoke of Jesus, of the gospel, it will be easy.
It will help them.
It will be easy.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I think it really brings things to light. Because case and troubles and trying to, a lot of people are competing. Even some couples are competing with other couples and all that. They want their husband to be like this. Please, your marriage is unique to you. What we're saying to you is your marriage is unique to you.
Amen.
Do as you can. And to finalize this, I just want to give some few points before we round up today. I want people to know that the beauty of a relationship is in paying attention to details. And paying attention to details mostly requires sacrifices of what we want to please whom we love. A lot of times, we don't really pay attention to what makes our spouses happy and what makes our spouses sad. So in a proper loving relationship, you have to pay attention to details. And I also say here that just like there is no fire without smoke, there is no love without sacrifice. Maturity is the pillar of any sustainable relationship. So we will be wrapping up here, but we're saying to our listeners, you can make it through that marriage. You can make it. Just as take one day at a time. Try to show kindness, try to show humility, try to show forgiveness, and try to communicate properly. We discussed about communication in our last show. Communication is very, very important. Communicate in a way that your spouse can receive it. Don't just talk. Don't just throw out words. Make sure you plan your words and you share it. And also remember to pray. And remember to bless your spouse. Thank you very much, listeners. And I want to thank our guest today. Thank you, Nadia, for coming through. Thank you, Pastor Stephen.
Thank
we
you.
hope to see you again.
Thank
you.
I hope you enjoyed your
We
show
really
with us.
enjoyed.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
viewers, we will be back same time next week. Until then, thank you.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.